Hi, welcome to Teen Pride Book Talks. My name is Lucy, and this is the program on AADL TV, where each episode I take a few minutes to talk about a young adult book that is both representative of and inclusive of folks in the LGBTQIA plus community. And the book that I am going to be talking about today is called The Luis Ortega Survival Club, and this is by Sonora Reyes. This story centers around a girl named Ariana, called Ari, who lives in Arizona. She's a Latina girl who is self-diagnosed as autistic with selective mutism. The reason she's self-diagnosed is that her parents do not believe in therapy or any diagnosis as such. This is interesting because her parents at the start of this book are sleeping in separate beds while her father's sleeping in the bedroom and her mother's sleeping on the couch because her mother has been caught having an affair, but they're still all remaining in the same house. So that's sort of the beginning situation in her home life, which is a little bit tense. The very beginning of the book starts out with Ari waiting outside of a party. She's waiting for an Uber. The Uber has been called by a boy named Luis Ortega, who she went to the party with. And she's waiting outside because she doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to see him. She went with him because she really likes him and she believed that he really liked her. They ended up having sex at the party, and she is thinking that's not really something that she wanted to do. She knows it's not something that she wanted to do, but already in her mind, she's going through this turmoil of where she might be to blame for this. What's especially difficult is that she doesn't speak. The only people that she speaks to are her parents and occasionally teachers, but she doesn't speak outside the house. She doesn't speak to kids her age. She doesn't speak at parties. And this is something that other kids know about her. She doesn't have a lot of friends. She does have an interaction at this party with a girl named Shawnee, who she knows, who is Luis Ortega's ex-girlfriend, as Ari is going off into a separate room with Luis. Luis tells her that he will take her into a different room to get her away from the noise. Ari does not like crowded spaces. She doesn't like loud noises. It's hard for her to be in this social situation, especially because she doesn't communicate verbally. And so Luis says, well, let's get you out of this situation that makes you uncomfortable. Come in this room with me. Let's close the door. As they're going in there, Shawnee warns Ari not to do this. And Ari believes it is because Shawnee's jealous. And this is a belief that she will carry for a long time. So she gets home and she is really struggling, and she takes a shower and she tries to scrub away the way she feels. And this continues in the next days and weeks. This difficulty with working through what has been a traumatic event for Ari. She doesn't want to talk about it with anybody. It's hard for her to talk to her parents. Her mother really uses her as her own therapist, and her father refuses to talk about anything that is too emotionally deep. She gets a note that says, "Me too." And then she starts to get these messages from someone calling themselves TLOCS, saying, "This happened to me. I also had a horrible interaction with Luis Ortega. Will you meet me in this room at school?" Before this meeting, Ari and this unknown person end up having these really great exchanges over some days, and Ari really feels like she could open up to this person, and this person's very kind to her and very caring and will reach out to see how Ari's doing. Ari has no idea who it is, but she really feels a connection with this unknown person. She gets to the classroom and that girl Shawnee is there, and two other girls, Jasmine and Nina, and a boy named Angel, all of whom Ari sort of knows and knows have had interactions with Luis Ortega. And she realizes that Shawnee is the one who's been sending the messages. And this is not much of a spoiler. This happens close to the beginning, because what the book is really about is this group of people, Angel, Jasmine, Nina, Ari, and Shawnee, becoming closer as people, but also trying to figure out how to come up with a revenge plot that they can take out against Luis Ortega so that people will know what he did and who he is. Everybody in the school looks up to him, but is actually very scared of him. And so they do what he says, and he gets away with everything. Universally, his friends will allow him to do things. His friends behave horribly. The girls that he is in relationships with don't really speak truthfully about what might have happened to them because they are unclear about their role in it. And over time, we start to see, as these characters start to see, that Luis Ortega is a deeply manipulative person. He picks on people intentionally who don't have friends. Shawnee doesn't have friends. She's been labeled as a slut since her relationship with Luis Ortega. He preys on people that he knows he can separate and people that are vulnerable. And think about how vulnerable you would be if you didn't have the ability to say out loud the word no. This is a lot of weighty subject matter and a lot of trauma being stirred up here. There's also this aspect of plotting revenge and seeing how far each person's willing to go. Ari is a writer. That's one way she expresses herself, and she wants to write something publicly that will compile all these stories, and they realize they need to collect more stories to be able to see the breadth of the damage that Luis Ortega has wrought. He's manipulated so many people that he continues to get away with things even when he becomes slightly exposed, which is disappointing. But while this book is about getting revenge on Luis Ortega, it's also called the Luis Ortega Survival Club. And the club aspect is really, I think, what the strength of the book is. The way that all of these people grow and the way the friendship between this group of people grows, but the way that they start to change as they become more comfortable with one another, the truths that they start to reveal about themselves and to the group. Ari has always known that she's been bi, but she's not out about it. Shawnee is out about being bi. Nina, in the course of this book, goes through a discovery of their identity to realize who they really are. And all of them are buoyed in doing this because they have the support of their friends. They don't all have support of their families in the way that they need it for certain things. And so this friend group becomes its own kind of family. And I really like a story that is a, sort of a found family. Ari's very touch-averse, and this is something that her parents know about her. They're very careful before they touch her in any way, before they give her a hug or offer comfort. They always ask. And it is really interesting to see how her group of friends behave so respectfully around this. They become very aware of it, and so they're very cognizant of asking permission before they touch her in any way, or asking if she wants to hold a hand or if she needs a hug. And their immediate understanding of that is sort of incredible. And though Ari doesn't talk, she doesn't reach out and touch people, she doesn't communicate that way, none of this means that she does not want to be noticed. She doesn't want to be hidden away in a corner just because she can't make noise and she's not comfortable in big groups of people. She does want to be noticed. And one way that we see this is by her really wonderful sense of fashion and her bold fashion choices and the things that she wears. And part of this is the reason that she catches Luis's attention in the first place. And that becomes something that she really struggles with, is her comfort in the way she looks and her enjoyment in the way she looks and her love of fashion and the way it fits her body, all of that, how it isn't really for somebody else. And so there are parts in this story where she will get dressed and wear something that she thinks is really cute and she looks great, and she realizes that just has to be for her in that moment, because when she goes to school, she's no longer comfortable with anybody looking at her that way and feeling that it was looking that way in the first place that caught Luis's attention. It takes her a long time to think about other reasons why Luis Ortega may have been seeking her out. One part of this book that I thought was a real strength that was very realistic is that both Ari and Shawnee struggle with letting go of the idea of Luis Ortega. Even though they know he has been horrible to them and he has hurt them, they still can't just stop liking him because they like the way that he made them feel outside of that. They like the way he made them feel so important and so special. And he did that by really pulling them away from everybody else and by not letting them have interactions with other people. But part of his manipulation was to make them feel like they shined for him. And that is part of what they miss when they miss him. And I think they miss that attention. It's a really interesting juxtaposition to this story where they're working on acting out this revenge. But there's also these two girls who are involved in it who struggle internally with how they feel about the person that they're seeking vengeance against. There are times when Ari feels jealousy around interactions between Louise and Shawnee. She feels like at first it's anger that Shawnee shouldn't be interacting with him, but then she wonders if she's not just a little jealous. And then she starts to wonder which aspect of that communication is actually making her jealous. There's a lot that goes on in this story. There's a lot that's just a story of high school kids in Arizona becoming friends, and there are aspects of it that are about family relationships and communication with family, and your role in family really plays a big part in this. The parent-child dynamic is significant, not just in Ari's family, but in other of her friends' families as well. Sonora Reyes really touches on a lot of interesting things in this book, but it's also just a really wonderful read because of the characters. It's immersive, and you feel yourself really wanting them to figure out how to do the thing that they're trying to do. What you're rooting for is these friendships, and just seeing this acceptance and support and respect that this group of people has for each other. So that is the Luis Ortega Survival Club by Sonora Reyes, and I highly recommend it. Thank you for joining me. I just wanted to share with you the author's note. The author says, "Please note that this book deals with issues of bullying, slut-shaming, rape culture, sexual harassment, and the aftermath of off-page rape. I have done my best to depict these topics with care and sensitivity. If these are difficult subjects for you, please take care of yourself and know that your mental and emotional well-being come first."